Today we're going to review all of our reactions for this unit. And we're going to first start with synthesis. All right, for synthesis we covered three types. All right, the first type was a binary compound. The second type was metal oxide plus water. And the third type was a non-metal oxide plus water. So what I want to do is give you some abbreviations to hopefully help you remember what these things look like. So for binary compound, I just have the simplest form of two elements combining together to give us molecule AB. For a metal oxide, some type of metal, doesn't matter what kind it is, plus H2O gives us metal hydroxide. Okay, and the third type, a non-metal oxide plus water, will give us some type of a oxyacid or polyatomic acid. Okay. The second type we talked about were decomposition reactions. We talked about 6 types of those. All right. So the first type we talked about was the exact opposite of synthesis type 1, so a binary compound. So we have molecule AB is going to decompose into elements A plus B. All right. We're going to have a metal carbonate decomposition. So metal carbonate, some type of metal carbonate, is going to decompose into a metal oxide plus carbon dioxide. Our third type that we talked about was a metal bicarbonate. That's going to decompose bicarbonate into metal oxide plus water plus carbon dioxide. Okay. The fourth type we talked about is the exact opposite of synthesis type 2. So this is a metal hydroxide decomposing. So a metal hydroxide is going to decompose into a metal oxide plus water. The fifth type, we're going to do a metal chlorate and a metal chlorate, ClO3, is going to decompose into a metal chloride plus oxygen. And our last type is going to be the opposite of synthesis type 3, an oxyacid or polyatomic acid, is going to decompose into a non-metal oxide plus water. Okay. The next thing we talked about in class were our single replacement reactions. And we talked about 4 types of single replacement. Okay. Our first type was a metal to metal replacement. Okay. The metal replaces the metal. So for these, the biggest thing that you have to be concerned about are your positives and your negatives, your cations and your anions, making sure that your positives are the ones that are switching places. Okay. The next type we talked about was metal replace the hydrogen from water. Okay, so that gave us some type of metal and water. All right, That leaves me with a metal hydroxide plus hydrogen. Okay. The third type was an active metal replaces hydrogen from acid. So again, some type of metal in some type of acid. Okay, it could be a polyatomic, could just be a binary acid, but you're going to get your metal ion plus hydrogen. Okay, and the last type was halogen replacement, so halide to halide replacement. And again, you have to be careful about your positives and your negatives. Okay, in this particular case, my anions are the ones switching places. My halogens are anions. Okay. The next thing we talked about was double replacement or double displacement. Okay, and we went over two types of double replacement. First kind was formation of a precipitate. And again, your positives and your negatives are the most important on these, making sure that you understand which ones are cations and which ones are anions, and who's going to fit with who. So in this particular case, your B and your D will switch places to give you a compound AD plus CB. Okay. And we also talked a little bit about solubility. We'll talk more about that in the course, how sometimes precipitates form and sometimes a reaction doesn't occur. But a precipitate is when two solutions mix together and a solid falls out of the solution. Okay. The other kind we talked about was an acid-base neutralization. And in these particular cases, we have some type of an acid, okay, binary, polyatomic, either one, plus some type of a base. And for our purposes, we're just going to deal with a hydroxide. And that's going to give us a metal ion plus water. Okay, it's always going to make the metal ion plus water. All right. And the very last thing we talked about in here was combustion. And so we only had one type of this that we talked about, and this is a hydrocarbon plus oxygen. So in all of these cases, some type of hydrocarbon, some amount of carbon with some amount of hydrogen that is ignited, the addition of oxygen is going to give me carbon dioxide and water. Again, sometimes these things can be a lot to balance. You can have lots and lots of oxygens to balance this out. But as long as you have this basic equation, carbon dioxide plus water, as your products, then you should be able to balance it. Okay. Now, this is by no means all of the reactions that are in chemistry, but these are the main ones that we talk about, and for each one of these: synthesis, decomp, single replacement, double replacement, and combustion. Okay. Next unit, we're going to talk about the mole and how to measure the quantity of products in our reactions. So until next time, work together, help each other, and make the world a better place. See ya.